Hi guys, Steve the Transit Camper. Got an interesting one for you this week. We are headed off to the site of Britain's oldest unsolved cold case. Interesting stuff. So, baby is really looking forward to this stealth van camp. She's been excited about it, talked about it all week. So, I listened to a podcast called Fred the Head, and it's a podcast that was written by Ken Davies, and he's given a talk today and a meet-up in Burton at the site where this body was found. Still unnamed. Let's get on with it.
They say that in the case of mysterious deaths, the first 48 hours are critical. If investigators can't make a breakthrough in that time, their chances of resolving the case are very much diminished. But what if you don't make a breakthrough in 48 hours or 48 days? What if you don't make a breakthrough in 48 years? Welcome to the mysterious case of Fred the Head, one of the UK's most baffling unsolved crimes.
So, on March the 21st in 1971, a chap called David Nathan went out shooting pigeons, which he normally did 6 days a week. And he came across the partially buried body of the man who is now known as Fred the Head.
In the bottom of the hole was a saucer-shaped object. I couldn't understand why they'd been digging at it, so I went back and got a spade. And I started digging around a bit and found that it was a person's head. So I went back to work and got my business partner, who came out, and he verified the fact that it was a human head, and we then straight away phoned the CID up.
David Nathan was an off-duty special constable in Burton at the time, and he quickly raised the alarm. He went to see his co-worker. He came to have a look and he said, yeah, that looks like the skull of a dead human being, partially covered, partially buried. And they quickly raised the alarm and CID were on scene. And we are going to be headed for that crime scene, the place where they found the body. I think it's private land now, so it's fenced off, but they'll get us as close as they can. And that was in Bassey's Meadow, where we will be stealth van camping overnight. So the plan today is that we are having a talk from Ken Davies, who wrote the podcast, which I've been following, and that podcast is called Fred the Head, and I've been listening to that for about 2 years now, true crime, and he's trying to investigate it, and he's trying to find out and identify who Fred the Head is, and he does say he intends to solve the crime. So it's all exciting stuff. So we're going to meet Ken Davies today, we're going to have a chat, we're then going to board a coach and head out to the crime scene, where he's going to give us all the information that he has about the crime, and then we're headed back to the pub, and hopefully we'll be having a Guinness. You having a drink, baby?
No, I don't think so.
Baby doesn't think she'll have a drink today. So what do we know about Fred the Head at the moment? Well, we know his mean age average has been estimated to be 29 years old, but overall they think between 27 and 35. He had short brown hair. He had an ailment called corticolis, which is where your one muscle of your neck pulls your head to one side, so he had a distinct turn to his right. And he also was found with a wedding ring on his right wedding ring finger, which is a bit unusual. Should be the left. And he was wearing pink socks. Otherwise, he didn't have any clothes on. He was bound by his hands to his back, and his feet were bound too. So he was buried in a kneeling position. All very strange. So I found a few pictures of the crime scene. Let me show you. So obviously old pictures, not very clear to see, but that gives you an indication of what they found on that day. About 5 months after that, we all celebrated with a major milestone in mankind's future, because I was born in August 1971. Cat the dog is not with us again, because it does promise to be quite a warm and muggy day in Stafford today, so we haven't brought Cat the dog. She's at home and she's gone around the back of the couch stealth camping as she does when we're not there, and the lovely next door neighbour Shishi is going to let her out for toilet breaks and take her treats, no doubt. So no Cat the dog on this one. Baby just pointed out that if the weather's nice and Shishi goes in her little summer house, that she sometimes takes Cat in there with her and puts her on the chair. So that's nice. She's being looked after, folks. So a little bit about Ken Davies. He's downsized the property from London, moved to Burton Wood, and got interested in this mysterious case of Fred the Head. Like I say, it's one of Britain's oldest unsolved murders, and with that, he is also unnamed. They still haven't identified him after all these years. So he was, during lockdown, he had nothing to do, and he decided to start the podcast, and that's called The Mysterious Case of Fred the Head. And it's one I've been listening to from probably about the 3rd episode, and I've got really into it. Got a lovely calming voice. He involves some voluntary researchers, and they do a cracking job looking at family trees and things like that. And in recent months, I would say, they've identified somebody who they think it could be, and they've asked for DNA, and we're still waiting to hear on that. A lot of people are skeptical that that's going to be the right person. I'm very skeptical about that, but we'll see. Has he solved it already? Who knows? But we're going to go and meet him today. I will be starstruck. Baby will be laughing in the background. But I will try and get a little bit of footage of him, but I'm not one of these that's going to try and interview him. I'm not into that. It'll just be a bit of fun. We'll see you when we get to the venue. So it's the 2nd of September now, and I just want to say a big thank you to Ian Harvey 289, who bought me a Guinness. That's very kind. That's that little app where if you want to contribute something to the show, just click on it and you can choose to buy me a Guinness. I'm not pushing for it, but it was a nice surprise. Thank you very much, Ian. Really appreciate that. So what else do we know about our victim, Fred the Head? He also had quite significant dental work done. He was very proud of his teeth. Rather than having any taken out, he was having multiple fillings, and he also wore a denture as well, which they found on the site. They tried to match that with records of local dentists, and they haven't been able to come up with anything as yet. Also, the wedding ring on his right hand, that was made between 1968 and 1970, they believe. So that's how they've dated that the earliest he could have been murdered is 1968. So far, nobody has been reported as missing with any of those features from that local area. So we don't exactly know where we're going to be stealth van camping. There is a car park at the hall where we're having our presentation and that meet and greet type thing. So we might get away with stealth camp in that car park, or there are some car parks that are free after 6 o'clock, so we'll have to have a bit of a drive round and see where we can park. It's got to be somewhere where I'm comfortable, as you know. So I'm in a 50 and I'm driving along, and there's advisory limits of 10 mile an hour either side, and there must have been 30 of these signs, and every time baby's pointed to it to tell me it's 10 mile an hour. I am not doing 10 mile an hour on this road, and let me show you what it looks like. It's 50, but I'm being very cautious. I'm doing 30. Unbelievable. So we're in Burton now, and the sat nav's telling us we're 6 minutes away from the venue. That's driving, so we'll start to look for a spot to stealth camp soon. So this definitely isn't the sleepy village that I thought it would be. It's extremely busy, there's cars everywhere and queues of traffic. We're only a few hundred yards from the venue, and I haven't seen anywhere to park yet. And I'm pretty sure the venue hasn't got a car park. So let's have a mill around and see what happens. Even though there's loads of spaces and it's empty, that's permit holders only.
What does that say on the right?
The car park, Staffordshire Council and customers only. No, so that's no good. And that one's staff only parking. So that's a bit bizarre. Let's have another look.
Hearts worth falling for. Oh, and with open arms I'll...
Well, we have arrived. We are outside the town hall. And the sign says Monday to Friday, 2 hours, no return. So it's Saturday, so I'm assuming we're okay, yeah? And it's an excellent location for a stealth van camp. Literally 5 yards from the front door. You impressed, baby? No comment. There's a few people milling about, and I think that might even be Ken Davies right by the side of me. But we're going to wait around a bit and see what happens. So this is the location. Baby's just got out. There's the town hall. Perfect. We're half an hour before it starts. So here we are. This is Burton Town Hall. Stealth location. Beautiful place. Perfect. Here she is, Mrs. Baby, in the back, fettling around, sorting out the sleeping arrangements, no doubt. I tell you what would be good is if we find a fish and chip shop later. That'd be cool in the back of the van. Here we have it. There's the main man, Ken. So I've managed to get hold of Ken Davies. He's the host of the podcast, Fred the Head, and he just wanted to say hi.
Hello everybody. Thanks for Steve coming all this way in his camper van to talk about Fred. And we've got about 80 people here today, and we're all going to be talking about Fred the Head. See if we solve it by the end of the day.
Yeah, there's lots of people in. It's really good. Hope it all goes well for you.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
So we've met Ken. We've had a lovely little chat there, and we're looking forward to the, what would you call it? Presentation. We're looking forward to the presentation. It's filling up now. A few people about.
Can everyone hear me, man? Can you hear me in the back? Because if you can't hear me in the back, we haven't got speakers I can do on the microphone. He was in a profession where short hair was considered a necessity.
Baby's being forced into doing a quiz. She's not happy.
That's the month in the year for that. When did he go missing? What is the number of the house on Newton Road that the Coon family lived on?
1, 2, 6.
6.
This magnifying glass, when I first started doing Fred the Head, it was given to me by my daughter. So I'm giving you something that means something to me. And said, no one has ever solved any kind of murder without a magnifying glass or a pipe.
So we're having a little bit of a break now. 10-minute break. Just on the quiz. We're a bit late for the quiz because we're messing about. But I apologise for the sound in the hall. It's very echoey, isn't it? But I thought I'd just show you a few clips. And then we'll see what happens when we get back in for the rest of the day. Beautiful building we're in.
Something else was happening. Why Frank was over there, whether it's this case or some other reason, I don't know. But you know, that's the story of why he would have been over there. No, he would have gone over the bridge. The bridge had keys. There were certainly 2 sets in the middle. David Nathan got that bobsled set, and one of the local farmers had a set as well. So he would have got normal access across the bridge. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. It's given me an opportunity to talk to people like all the time, which I do. So all I'd ask is, thanks to Ian, thanks Emma, thanks Magdalena, thanks Helen, thanks Neil, Shane, thanks Shane. And just thanks for everybody coming out. We've had a great day, and stick with it. You know, this is going to end tomorrow. I've had a bit of summer off. I've been doing a lot of work. I've been away a lot. But I'm back now, and certainly from September, I'm going to be back on this. Pretty much, I won't say full time. Somebody said to me before, "Why don't you do it full time?" Well, because I'd be destitute. Because we don't have anybody doing it. So I do have a job, and I've got to do the job. And then the big time I'm not doing the job, I get to do this. But I get a lot of help from everybody, and Joe, of course, who knows to do it. So thanks everyone for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been great for me. Well, there's no, we know this. There's not going to be any merch. No merch, no money. Everyone's going to say no thanks to them, no money.
So that's the classroom stuff over, and we have now driven down, what was it called? Meadow Lane or Meadow Drive, and we are here now going to go for the walk with Ken Davies to the deposition site where they found the body of this person who's now known as Fred the Head. Very interesting. Let's go and have a look. A few people in the group are here already. We're just waiting for Ken. So we're looking at this car park. We've had to drive here because the coach let Ken down. So we're looking here, and I can't see any warnings on parking. So I think this is our stealth site for the night. Perfect. It's 5 minutes walk from a pub as well. Can't be bad. Yeah, had a good look around, no parking signs. So like I say, this will be our place tonight. Here we are, waiting for the walk. Not long now, I hope.
day. So what we're going to do is, this is where we kind of start the walk really. So we're going to walk back, and I'm going to be able to point out the things. But I wanted to reach this point because I wanted to point that out. That's the rifle range. So we've had a few people say, oh, that was a kind of a place that people went for kind of, you know, assignations. Is that a polite way of putting it? I wouldn't take anyone for an assignation there. So there's plenty of better places than that, to be honest. I imagine if you took a woman over there, she'd say, what are you doing? I'm not seeing you again. So, but there are some kind of rooms on the other side of that. You can get to it. You have to.
We've established these to shoot loads over there.
Oh, that's from the First World War. So people, there's a million bullets at the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was used for. People did go up there for, you know, probably drinking and kids and stuff. I don't think it's a romantic venue. It's not Secret Escapes, is it? So that, but I wanted to show you that because I wanted to show you that in relation to everything else. And now we're going to walk back that way. On that side, obviously, you can see the mill. And so that's the final part of the mill. On the other side of that white thing going across, it says Burton Flour Mill. It's quite a famous image. The mill, and then the weir. And then we'll just go see the weir and where the weir takes us. The one on this side. If you go down Newton Road, it's got a big 126 outside.
Right. Okay.
So it's a semi-detached right next to this little run of. There's like a flat bit going across there, and then you get to 126 Newton Road. And you know, a lot of people have said you can walk across the weir. I would fancy it myself. So what happens is that there's a channel of water going into the mill, and to regulate the height of that water, obviously anything above that falls down and goes round this part, this is the spur of the river, and then it all rejoins again on the other side of the mill. So essentially that weir is to take away any excess water, keep a constant level going into the mill, therefore constant drive, and essentially that's the job it had. Which is why, if they had anything on there in terms of tree stumps and things that were washed down, and it always does, they had to clear it, because if they didn't clear it, it would affect the run of the water into the mill. I was always just on the other side of that where no what happened there. So this is probably it. Now, I'm afraid this is kind of the closest we can get now. We can break through, but I wouldn't advise it. So these tall trees, follow them down. Remember, the river's much lower than us. The river's 10 feet, 12 feet, 20 feet even lower than where we are standing here. And it's like a plateau, a shelf, it's relatively low. That's where all the foundations are of the old flint mill. Then it rises up 10 feet. In that rise is where those kilns were, and in that rise is where Fred was. Next to the kilns. He wasn't in a kiln. People often say, oh, he's in a kiln. He wasn't in a kiln. He was next to the kilns in the loose soil. And see, that big tree there, you follow that all the way down to the bottom, is probably pretty much the spot. That, I'm afraid, is about
could he be seen from that side of the river,
yeah.
or this side?
Could he be seen? Very much seen from that side of the river then. This is much more overgrown than it was, even when I remember it 3 years ago, because no one goes in it now. Back in the day, it was much clearer. If you see the images that the police have taken, it's fairly clear. And there was a lot, and you could see the soil. I mean, you can't see the soil or anything like it. It's like a jungle in there. But, so therefore, anyone killing someone, anyone spending a lot of time there, ran a huge risk of being seen from the other side of the river. Which makes me think a lot of action didn't take place there. It took place somewhere else, but that was the designated deposition site.
Ken, where would the wooden bridge be?
We're going to it. Yeah. So the deposition site is, see that tall tree there, bottom of that tall tree. The bridge is the bridge going over there. So literally, if you walked over that bridge, you walked across the flat bit, you walked up the rise, that's where Fred is. So it's walking over the bridge, probably go across about 20 yards, and about 20 yards away from the bridge, that's where the deposition site was.
Was it a pedestrian bridge, or could you drive across it?
Oh no, it was a pedestrian bridge, and it was this one. It was locked on one side, only 4 people had the key. No one went over it. You know, really very, very, very few people knew it existed and went across it. So, which is, you know, it is an opportunity to go that way, but equally, my money's on coming this way.
This was actually a path originally.
Yeah, it's identical to what you see now. The farm's always been there, the farm track's always been there, so that's always the same as now.
The only thing you've got from here coming this side though is the old canal that runs.
There's a little bit of a,
what was left of a canal.
there's a little bit, well, it's a cutting really. So it's about, but everybody I've spoke to, fishermen, people, the guy who was the water bailiff here said you could jump it. You could jump
I
it.
wouldn't want to jump that.
People did, but yeah, there is a little, but the ways over.
Yeah, well, it's like where the kilns are. There's still the bricks that you can see where it
Correct.
used to be.
Yeah. So, the reason I brought you here, the reason why we're here is just about over there, as far as you can see there, that is kind of where the bridge was. See where the brown fencing is? You go over about another 10 yards from there, that's where the bridge was. That's really where Garth's house and workshop was. So, just over there. It's just that all of this now is out of bounds to us. So essentially, we're seeing it from both sides rather than being right on it. It's a pity you can't do it.
Is it all grown over that side?
Higher boat, yeah, it's a good idea.
Is it all grown over from that side?
When I went there, which was 2019, it wasn't. Now, this is the film from a couple of years ago. So you get a much better sense now. This is where he was found. So you'll see it's much lower, the vegetation, than what we've seen in the earlier part of the film. This is the kiln. They are the 2 kilns. This is exactly where he was found. So this is probably much lower in terms of vegetation, simply because it's been through a winter. Of course, ours has just been, the film we've just made has been through a summer, so that's why there's so much vegetation. But this is filmed 2 years ago in early March, so you get it's a much clearer picture. They're the 2 kilns. That's where the body was. That's the rise in the ground where the kilns were. Again, looking back over to the weir there, so you can see the weir really does. It is very close to the deposition site.
So it's 6:30 and our journey is finished. I just thought I'd show you that, really, the weir. We're going to head off for something to eat now, and then we'll meet you back at the pub for a few Guinnesses, hopefully. That's where we are. So we've walked absolutely miles. We walked the wrong way first, which is what me and baby always do. But let me tell you, here she is. Nice too. Ordered a couple of barbecue burgers, some garlic bread, some coleslaw. What else do I get? Onion rings. Wonderful. Both come with chips. Let's see if we can get rid of them. Number 2. Just as good as the first.
It's the same one.
No, it's not. Baby's on the double. What is it? Rhubarb gin? Crazy. It's a Witherspoon's pub though, so it's really cheap. You can have as many of them as you like, baby. No comment. Not bad at all. Well, you definitely can't complain about that. All that food, 27 quid. And it was good. I bet all mine. Baby's on her second half of her burger. Can't moan at that. So, going to finish this one up and go back and meet Ken Davies again in the pub. You probably want to buy me a beer.
Do you know why Anthony Hardy's family emigrated to Australia?
Why Anthony Hardy went to Australia?
Yeah. Him and all his family emigrated to Australia, didn't they?
Yeah, we're definitely talking about Anthony Hardy, not Frank Hardy. So Anthony Hardy, for a job.
But he went with all his family, didn't he?
He went with
How
his
old
wife.
was he when he went to Australia?
I think he was about, quite young, I think he was about 28 or something like that.
He was still living at home. Having been to Cambridge.
He went to Imperial, a really bright lad. I think he went over there working in kind of minerals and oil and gas.
It sounds like they took him away for something.
I think it's someone not
They must have something. Yeah. A shot.
I think it's someone that was killed by someone who knew the area really well. But he wasn't, he didn't need to know it. So he's either someone who's arrived in Burton very soon before he was killed, or he was killed in a completely different place, entirely different place. That's why they can't find him, because they haven't. Because I don't believe they really looked in Yorkshire and in East Anglia and in Wales. This is the interesting thing about the fact this guy in Wales, from Wrexham, they never found him at the time, even though he was missing at the time. We've got to work on the basis that the police did a pretty ordinary job. I think.
Yeah, we're just wrapping it up in the Burton Bridge. Up. Ken's got to go. He's under the thumb. These are the long goodbyes now. Ken Davies is leaving the building.
Thanks for coming.
So we're heading down here now. It is late, 11:30, something like that. And we're going down this bridge, which is a bridge over the river, off a bridge over the river. It's bizarre, but we love it. So we're heading down to the stealth camp. As you can see, it's a very secluded but safe place. There's no cars going past. This looks good to me. All clear. A few cars around, but nobody in them. Let's get in. Wonderful. Look at that. What a beautiful place. And that's how quick it is. We are in, we are settled, and we are going to get into bed. Are you ready for bed? She is ready for bed. Just sorting ourselves out. We're going to get into bed. We're looking for chargers at the moment. We can't find chargers for this, that and the other, but we'll find them in a minute. So let's have a look at the security cams. Hang on, let's turn the flash off. That's better. Let's have a look at the security cams. That's looking the door side. That's looking the non-door side. That's looking at the front. And that's looking at the rear. Not a lot going on. Okay, folks, it's getting on for midnight. I'm absolutely shattered. I know I haven't recorded much in the van for the old stealth van camp, but this is about Fred the Head, the podcast, and meeting Ken Davies, really, to be honest. And we've had a right laugh with him in the last sort of couple of hours, haven't we, baby? Mm-hmm. So we're just going to settle down for the night. I'm hopefully going to wake up in enough time to put on the time lapse. So you should be seeing a time lapse now, which will be from about 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning till daylight. But if you don't see a time lapse now, it's because I've slept straight through and I forgot to turn it on, because it only lasts 5 hours on the DJI, which is rubbish, really. If anybody wants to do a review on it. Anyway, you've been watching Fred the Head and Steve the Transit Camper, and we're going to sleep. I'll show you a bit of the video of the CCTV. You can see a view of each camera, but there's nothing going on. We're in a good, safe place. Okay, take care and I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. Wow, what a beautiful location we picked. It is the deposition site for Fred the Head, and it's been absolutely silent all night. We've had no disturbances, and we've woken up this morning now and all we can hear is the birds outside. It's beautiful. Just showed you the cameras there. Absolutely nothing going on. We saw one guy go past on his bike and we're all like, quick, get the videos. But I couldn't get to my phone quick enough. So, when you wake up on a chilled morning like this and you've got nothing in the van, there's only one place to go, isn't there? Not even a dog walker here this morning, which is most unusual. It's 7:15. Saw a few squirrels on here yesterday, but I never got the phone out quick enough to record. But anyway, let's get to that one place that everybody wants in the morning when they've got nothing in their camper. Thank you. Hi, you right? Is there sugar?
Yeah, how many?
2 please. Thanks very much. Thank you. And what better way than to start a day than a nice McDonald's? Good healthy food. Well, that was it for our tour of Fred the Head and the deposition site and meeting Ken Davies, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and so did you, didn't you, baby? Mm-hmm. She did. You've been watching Steve the Transit Camper. Hope you enjoyed the video. You take care. And don't forget to check out that podcast, The Mysterious Case of Fred the Head.